Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Unlocking the Information Potential, a perspective on IBM InfoSphere Information Server. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Ankur Kumar Das, Practice Manager, MDM and Data Management Virtual Services, IBM India Software Labs. Ankur is the Practice Manager of MDM and Data Management in the Service Delivery Organization of India Software Lab. He has over 14 years of experience in data warehousing, ETL, and business intelligence analytics, and has been a product manager for IBM InfoSphere's Information Server. As a practice manager, he leads a team of information management practitioners. Ankur works with worldwide customers to help them adopt the information agenda and optimize their business decisions by deploying IBM Information Management Platform and tool offerings. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Mr. Das.
Thank you, Bonnie. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending this session on information server. Today, the rough agenda that I will cover today is introduce you to information server, or rather information data stage, InfoSphere data stage 8.7, followed by a quick introduction to our latest release, which is due in market in some time, which is InfoSphere Information Server 9.1. So what you will get to know is about the salient features of in data stage 8.7, as well as the latest and greatest features of Information Server 9.1, which will actually introduce you to new features and enhancements across the product platform and suite. Right? And with that, just so that we all are clear on this, there may be a delay of close to 1 to 3 seconds when I refresh the slides. So I will hold for a second, or if I'm continuing on a topic, then I'll continue, and then I'll switch context once the 3-second limit is over. So I'll just change my slides. So this is the IBM standard, a disclaimer statement about any of the positions or anything public that you speak. So first, what I'll do is I'll actually define the give an overview of what information server product suite, how it is used, why is it distinct, what are the real standout features about the information server suite that will really help you with your data warehousing, business intelligence, analytics, big data, real-time analytics type of projects, and anyway where you need to move data from your source to a target application, which can be anything from SAP to a master data management solution or a custom data store where you actually you are building custom analytics. So anywhere you need to move data from one source to your target source or the new source, and you want data to be in the format that you require for new business requirements, and also transformed and enriched with standard data and bereft of any duplicates or any other material anomalies that you feel the source system has. Information server has a role to play there. There are many ways in which information server can be used, and its suite of products can be employed in an information infrastructure where you are dealing with data movement, data quality, data governance. You're looking at survivorship of data. You're looking at areas to enrich data. You're looking at continuous data quality rules. You're looking at discovering your source data in terms of what are the statistical relationships between the various data columns. And as ETL practitioners or as information management practitioners and leaders, you would know all the aspects that are involved when you are looking at data and you're looking at new usages of data from now the current or the old data set that you already have. So moving on to, I'll just wait for some time. So this slide, when it loads, basically will introduce you to why we like to call Information Server Suite a one data integration platform, because it has got a rich set of functionalities and tool sets that very few in the market can even mimic or come close to, right? And all these rich set of functionalities and tool sets are driven by one unified metadata, which is our calling, and which we have worked really hard to actually master and make it more performant and user friendly. So what we base our information server platform is the notion of active metadata. Is not passive. It's not as if whatever we're capturing and just gets deposited in a repository which is never accessed. Each tool in the information server suite actually makes active use of the metadata that is shared across the information server suite and uses that to its advantage. I will give an example on how that is done a couple of slides later, but right now this slide actually gives you a holistic overview on how information server suite actually delivers on the promise of giving you trusted information, trusted data, and which you can actually use for your business context and optimize your business decisions accordingly. So the quick rundown on what various aspects that this slide denotes is, as I was talking about metadata, so you can see that it has got one metadata store. It has got active metadata support across its tools, which wherever it is being used. The various use case scenarios where Information Server Suite is used is the typical ETL data integration and transformation scenarios. It is used in ELT scenarios, which we call as balance optimization. ELT is where you push down certain processing to either the source database or the target database to take advantage of the database engine power and resources. The other use cases are obviously data quality, data discovery and data quality sustenance over a time frame wherein your information governance scenarios are taken care of by inbuilt out-of-the-box and very powerful tools that come in our data quality and governance tool set. Then we have almost broad spectrum connectivity to any known commercial data store. Mostly everything is covered, and which is not covered can be covered through external connectors or meta-broker bridges. So in terms of connectivity, it is full broad spectrum across all SAP, all the ERP systems you can think of, all the people HR systems you can think of, mainframes, XML, be it REST API. So it basically connects to everything commercial as well as which has a stable technology behind it. Right? We all know about how it is important in a business intelligence or a data movement scenario of having a SMP massively parallel structure. Real Stage was one of the pioneers some 12 years back in terms of having mastered the art of the parallel engine, so which we keep enhancing on every major release and as well as releases in between. So it has reached a stage where it actually is extremely performant and provides massively parallel mixed workload environments for you to utilize and get your data to the shape that you want it to be. Moving on to this one quick check here, in the sense that the other thing that we also provide in terms of the developing community is the seamless experience of developing ETL jobs, right? It doesn't change from ETL job to a data quality job. It's the same parallel canvas or the server canvas. It has got the same set of UI, same user experience, same navigational flows. So in terms of reskilling, it's very little that needs to be done from major release to major release, because we make sure that in terms of the user experience, it remains the same and it only gets enhanced, and obviously we take care of backward compatibility with previous releases, right? Moving on to the next. So in the slide, I'm just giving you a primer on that, and I'm hoping it will have loaded by now. Anyway, so what this slide tries to do is introduce you to the various elements of information service suite. Some of the elements shown here, like for example, cognos and discovery, are extraneous to the information service suite, but still these are being depicted here together just to complete the story and close the loop around how different information service suite components can be used in a typical BI or reporting or a data warehousing scenario. So this scenario, what it describes is, obviously when you start in a data movement or ETL project, or in terms of you wanting to build a new reporting repository, the first thing you look for is your input sources. Right? What kind of sources you have? More often than not, it's not easily identifiable what exactly is in the store, and you know the end game, you know what reports you're looking for, you know the report elements that you're looking for, you know the tuple you're looking for, but it is difficult for you to figure out where exactly can I fetch this tuple from my source system. Where exactly are the report elements and the columns and the metrics? Metrics can still be calculated, but obviously the metrics still needs some kind of a base support from the source system. So where do I get my dimensional data? Where do I get my dimensional information, attributes information? So these basically, when you start looking at the source system, is when problems keep arising, because different SMEs and different business analysts and different DBAs across LOBs, if we are talking about a project that involves multiple LOBs, have different meanings and may have different terminologies associated with them. So it becomes very difficult for such people to actually be on table and come to a consensus on what exactly you looking for, and how to actually make sure that these elements are exactly what is required for the new reporting and new data mart requirements. So in terms of IBM offering, you can use a data architect to actually model your source schema and basically introspect into your data source and get the source schema out, so that you actually have a ER view of what exactly a source schema looks like. But keep in mind that right now it's only the ER view. You are not clear still what are the different columnar relationships, how are the entities related with each other, because that's something that is actually, as old the system is, it has been found or noted that it is mostly embedded with the DBAs, in the DBA's mind, or with the business SME, right? But what this helps you to do is actually start off on a ER schema with all the relationships defined, clearly defined and shown, and where it is possible, it is annotated with various information that has been extracted from those source systems. Now comes the part where you would want to discover, are there entities which are actually related to each other through joint paths? Is there a parent entity? Is there a network entity type here? For example, how many the customer table entity is related to how many entities inside the source data? So the customer may have a legal address, may have a home address. The customer may have bought these products, it may be having these contractual values, and all those things may be represented in different normalized entity structures inside the source schema. Now, how to make a sense out of what exactly is the relationship between these, instead of spending hours and weeks and days mulling over and going over huge sheets of data of ER diagram, would it be nice if there's a tool which automatically discovers such relationships and at least gives you a starting point in terms of these are the business objects and these are the discovered relationships of the business objects that the business objects contain. So that is what discovery does. It actually introspects into the source schema and gives you the information about what business objects are there in terms of relationships actually in the source schema. So once you have done that discovery, you now have a view of the business objects. You can actually get down to the point where you actually can define, give it a meaning in the sense and start defining a taxonomy about each of them. That one thing that really isn't in sync across LOBs in the organization is the meaning of a particular term. A particular term can have different meanings for different people. So business glossary, InfoSphere business glossary, a part of information service suite, is basically a taxonomy tooling that actually helps you build a hierarchy of taxonomy so that you know what what exactly is the data element that you're working on, what it means, and what common meaning it holds across the different LOBs that are using it, right? So once you associate the terminology with your sourced, your discovered relationships, what you can do is you can actually use these to then start your data quality and governance process in terms of, you can apply data quality rules on top of it using information analyzer, which is again part of the information service suite, to make sure that you are analyzing the discovered relationships in terms of whether there are still columns which are not required, which are not related, which have statistical errors that can be taken out of or can be considered as outliers. So data quality rules actually lets you subset the data in terms of what exactly are you looking for your eventual data mart. Right, so information analyzer actually lets you do that. It doesn't stop there because it's a continuous data quality platform. So once you have employed the first level of data quality on this, on the discovered relationships, you can actually keep modifying the data quality rules and keep incoming data provisioned as per your business requirements in terms of data quality. Next comes, so once you've discovered your data and its quality is ensured, that wouldn't it be nice if there's a tool that actually lets you map data automatically between the source and the target, right? So once you do that, so there's a tool called as InfoSphere Fast Track, which again is part of the information service suite, which actually does an automatic mapping of the source columns and the target columns, and also tries to put in the rules that it understands. So it uses rudimentary data switch functions, like for example, it can automatically put in set null, but where it requires complex business rules, it will say that in English and put that in a column. But it all depends upon how you have actually used the business glossary in terms of defining your taxonomy. So FastTrack actually uses this embedded metadata across information service suite to come up with this mapping. FastTrack can also actually generate the automatic dataset job. This job will use this mapping that FastTrack automatically generates to come up with the initial design of the job, which will be automatically stored in the project that you choose, right? So the highlight of this slide is to basically show you that how each tool in the information service suite is interconnected through its underlying metadata stack, and how it uses the result set from each tool, and the tool downstream or upstream can actually use the output of a tool within the information service suite to actually enhance it further and use it for its own purposes, right? Moving on to the next one, kind of skipping this in the interest of time. Now what I'll do is I'll introduce you to InfoSphere DSH8.7. This was released in October 2011, so it's been in the market for a year. And this, before we increased, before we released 9.1, this is what is right now the latest and the greatest in the market. So, right. Moving on to the themes of Information Server 8.7, why it was released and what were the actual themes or the use cases categories that we were targeting. So the four that you see is what we were targeting, because we wanted information server to be actually become the go-to information governance platform, wherein using information server suite, you can actually kickstart most of your governance programs that you may be thinking of, and the toolings that are required around it to support it. So that many of the capabilities have been built that actually allude to the information governance theme. Enhanced productivity in terms of how things have been made simple, how things that are often used have been prepackaged. Then the tight integration across different IBM portfolio products other than information server, like for example CDC, and data masking with IBM Opting. So there are many things that we have done in terms of tight integration, and obviously big data support, because big data is, as we all know, we need to talk about it much, is the next big wave, and ETL tool needs to have a direct support and should also be able to support a mixed workload environment with traditional ETL jobs as well as MapReduce Hadoop jobs running parallelly. Right. So that said, let's move a bit faster. So we've done lots of performance enhancements and backward compatibility stuff across the parallel engine and design time performance. I mean, the takeaway from this slide would be that you can expect 8.7 to be a lot faster and a lot more performant than what you've been used to seeing the older versions of information server. Going to the next one. For the users who have already used job log data stage, they would find this feature really neat in the sense that the job log is now available directly from a designer, and actually it's a movable window which you can peg anywhere you want. So it actually gives you in-your-face kind of results when you run the job, and what exactly are the parameters and all those things in terms of debugging, or you just want to see the general health of the job. Right. Moving on to the next one. So this was one of the biggest gap that information server had, and that was plugged by the introduction of interactive parallel job debugging. So what we did was we actually introduced the debugger, and this is the parallel debugger, which means that when the job is running in parallel for each node, it will give you the debugging information embedded in a single window, right? So it's a typical debugging tool that everyone is used to, and you can put breakpoints, watch, and you can resume. You can see statistics about a particular link and all those things in terms of which record is being processed. So all those things come standard with this. I'm just moving to the next one. So once the screen refreshes, this is where you will see the parallel job debugger in terms of its UI, how it looks, and it is obviously available from a designer. So I mean, you can see the different viewpoints in the debugger supports, and as you can see that it's showing two links. And node 1 and node 2, which basically depicts that it's running a parallel job, and the debugger is in the parallel mode, and it's actually giving you debug information across each of the parallel nodes. Right. So here is an extremely intuitive tool, and people who have been used to using debugger would find it very the ramp-up time to be not that much. I mean, so it just speaks for itself in the sense that what it shows in terms of the debugging information, as well as what can be done with it. Right? So with the addition of this, it has solved a lot of headache for data stage developers and practitioners, where the debugging information was pretty rudimentary, and from especially debugging a parallel job, there were lots of workarounds and things that needed to be done, which just added to the effort. Right. So moving on to the next one. So while the screen refreshes, so this is introducing into the big data file stage, as well as similar to the sequential file stage. So one endeavor in the information server suite is to actually maintain the user and the cognitive experience as similar as possible. So this is what is the first step towards the connectivity issue, connectivity towards Hadoop. That's IBM's distribution, IBM Big Data platform, and this supports HDFS connectivity to Hadoop, and it basically, it contains it's a connector, it's a parallel connector. Parallel stage, which basically is available on the parallel canvas, and you can, if you have the Hadoop cluster information also, and the connectivity information, connection string, so you can actually connect from, using this to Hadoop HDFS system and fetch data from it or write data to it, right? So moving on to the next one. So this is IBM Netezza integration. So this is the Netezza enhancement to the Netezza connector in terms of the operations that it supports. So that's been enhanced quite a bit, and especially the sparse and normal lookups and create table with distribution key points are some of the salient points that has been put in terms of the Netezza integration. So what essentially I'm seeing right now is, it's end-to-end integration happening, be it an appliance like Netezza, IBM Netezza, or be it commercial distribution or partial distribution of big data, and also the tool sets that have been built around it for you to actually work with such data. For example, the parallel debugger, which will allow you real insights into your code and your transformation logic and your flow, and will help you create this topic, create better optimized jobs using all these powerful features, right? Moving on to the Netezza connector features. So basically speaking, it actually will, so these are the different Netezza, read, write, and lookup modes, which basically is more or less most of them, which Netezza enhanced connector supports, and that's available for use with the Netezza appliances, any version, right? And the next stage is the next slide basically gives you a look into kind of a performance, expected performance, or rather a controlled environment where we actually did this kind of exercise to figure out what would be the load and unload rate of using data stage and then Netezza Twin box. So you can see the specs of data stage as well as data stage as well as Netezza Twin box right there on the slides. So it's pretty huge, and then you can see the load rate and unload rate are extremely fast, and which speaks volumes about the kind of performance enhancements we have done, and also talks about the stability and the consistency of the enhanced Netezza connector. Right, so this basically enables you to actually utilize your appliances, your data warehousing appliances, and in a more optimized fashion, and use more with less. Right. So moving on to the next one. This is again alluding to the balance optimizer. So we have provided the balance optimizer for Netezza. So balance optimizer, as you all know, from a data stage standpoint, is it's ELT feature, when you can push certain processing to the source or the target. So in this case, in this case this would be Netezza. So we start supporting balance optimization for Netezza, which will really help you in terms of choosing the most optimal design for your Netezza jobs, and will give you enhanced choice in terms of design and development of a Netezza job. Right. So moving on to the other things, I'm just skipping this one. Again, alluding to our end-to-end integration theme, data dual load is also supported via TMSM API. And so basically, data stage using this massively parallel engine now supports multiple data updates through its dual load capability, and that should be a big win in terms of wherever there is a data workload that is being considered. Right. So just moving on to the other. So this is where so we already had a CDC connectivity going on, but in 8.7 we actually made it really airtight with a deeper integration with IBM CDC, and in terms of how you can directly from the parallel canvas, you can use a CDC stage, you can and you can actually listen to the changes being propagated from the source, from the CDC agent, and also in real time propagated back to this to wherever the target is, and doing and also using other methods within the data stage parallel canvas, like if you want the incoming CDC data to be transformed with other business rules, you can actually do that and treat it as any other stage in a job, and utilize that and flow the data or pipeline the data through to for more transformations for the incoming CDC data and use it later. So this basically is a tighter integration, and this allows to enhance shift towards product integration scenarios with our various IBM brands, be it InfoSphere or be it InfoSphere or be it Tivoli or Rational or anything else. So this is what demonstrates that notion. Moving on to the next one. So this is the XML stage. So XML stage was introduced with Information Server 8.5 back in 2010 October. Now with 8.7, the XML stage has been improved a lot in terms of certain restrictions which were really tough in terms of design, like schema validations. So there are multiple modes are now supported in terms of whether minimal validation is acceptable to certain customers, so they can choose minimal validation or they can stick with the default strict validation, right? And also schemas tend to grow in size and become bulky. While in memory. So there's an auto chunking feature which has been built into the XML stage, which basically based on certain thresholds actually auto chunks the loaded schema in memory and processes the chunk first and then moves sequentially through the other chunks that are remaining. Right. So these are enhancements that you can turn on the XML stage. Okay. The slide loads, one of the biggest things that was done as part of Information Server 8.7 was the data rule stage. So this basically is a new stage that is available within the data stage canvas and within the data quality palette. So what you can do is you can actually use within your normal ETL flow the data rules that you have already defined, right? So in Information Analyzer, which is a suite component of an Information Server, what you do is when you do your data quality process in terms of identifying the data, taking out duplicates or not duplicates, but figuring out the relationships and figuring out the data anomalies. So what you use are something called as Information Analyzer data rules. Those same data rules are actually available within the data stage canvas by using this new stage, which is the data rule stage. So this again alludes to the fact that we are using active metadata. So whatever you've defined in Information Server Analyzer, which is a suite component of Information Server, that rule itself is available within data stage canvas, right? And it actually gives you an enriching and enhanced experience if you are a data stage developer or practitioner. So when you're developing a job, you actually need not design a separate a data quality job or all you can do is within the same job you can use this stage, the new stage, data rule stage, and you can use the predefined rules which have been already defined by, in most cases, the business users as well as, obviously the DBS in attendance. So you can actually use predefined business context-rich rule rather than you putting in a rule which is more of a unit test-driven mentality than actual business context, right? So this is where it actually helps and it shows us real value. Right, so now moving on to the next one. So while this slide loads, so this actually gives you a peek into how the data rule stage looks like in terms of its configuration. I mean, when you load the data rules editor from the data source canvas, this is how it looks like. So you basically get to see all the published rules that are already been created in the information analyzer and have been and it's part of our operational metadata and obviously available as active metadata. And that's why you see all the published rules already present within the data rule stage. Then you also get to see what are the rules that you have selected for this particular stage instance that you intend to use. And obviously for any stage information, you will have the input links and output links information, which is so all in all it's a single stage editor, so to speak, wherein you get all the information that is required with additional information about the predefined or the available data rules of where you can actually select and utilize them, right? Yeah. So moving on to the next one, I've already spoken about this. Okay. So 8.7 was a kind of a quantum leap in terms of certain areas within information server, and the one that I'm going to introduce you to was one of them. So this is what we call as the operations console. This is a one-stop shop web-based where you can see actually how your engine is doing, the health of your engine, the health of your job, the meta information about your about your project design, your snapshots in time, your activity comparisons of the jobs, your log comparisons, pictorial and drill down views of different aspects that you can choose to use. So in terms of knowing where exactly, for example, the CPU history was in the past 7 days. So if you see, this is a one-stop landing page for everything that you always wanted to know about what is wrong or what is right or what is not or what is looking like that it will go wrong with your data stage or information server environment, right? So this is the answer to all those problems. This operations console gives you the operational details, again taking from again in large parts extracting data from the operational metadata, and also its own custom repository where it actually shows you. If you see, just move over to the next slide. So it has got three tabs. The most important are the home page, the activity page, and the repository page, right? So the home page is where you basically, all these are configurable. I mean, the views that you want to see, but what the default that is right now you're seeing, in terms of, you can exactly get to see how many job runs have happened over the last 3 days. You can actually set the refresh frequency of, when you want this information to be refreshed on operational metadata. You can look at the information about your finished job runs, how many, were successful, how many failed with warnings. So highlight the failed jobs. Then on the right palette, you could see that, it is actually showing the engine status. And also showing you in the daemon the processes, the status, which you can again configure. So you can actually see ASB agent and DSRPCT and all those processes actually showing status in terms of how they're running and whether they're okay or not. So you can just have a look at this console, and this actually is a really a terrific tool for you to actually monitor how your data stage environment is performing, and where you see some warning signs or where you see some optimization, requirements for optimizing your environment. Or this can also suggest in terms of you see a job getting into lots of memory issues, so maybe that's a cue for you to have a look at the design and see if it can be tweaked for a better performance. So I'm just moving on to the next one. So this is again the home page. It is just showing about the different filters that you can put in to filter information available on the home page. Moving on to the next one. So this is the repository page. And this actually shows you the project level information about and the environment and into the level of even the environment variables that are available which you can use, right, which you've actually defined. So this actually gives you one window into your repository of your project, and you need not go and open Designer and all those things. You can get all information from right here, and check on your design effort. Right, just moving on to the last one. So this is this again is view the repository page. It's actually fetching from the operations metadata and the active metadata to basically show you the job designs, and you can see the thumbnail information of the job. So you can actually drill down and open the job and see all the the stored metadata about the job. Right. Moving on to the activities page, this is where you can do all the comparisons across snapshots of time in terms of how much job fared 2 weeks back, how it is faring now. You can compare it based on various parameters, be it CPU usage or memory or anything else on which you can configure and choose, and it will be shown in a graphical manner. So this is status screen. So there are many subset of screens that are available for how to put them, but there are a lot of screens that actually go deeper than what currently you see of this. Okay. Okay. Moving on to Information Server 9.1. I absolutely have like 15 minutes now. So now this is about to be released in the market. Will come very soon. Will be announced by IBM. But recently, in Information on Demand in Las Vegas 2012, we announced that this product. So Information Server 9.1 will be the latest and greatest, and there are many things that have changed in 9.1. But one of the paradigm shifts is the introduction of packages. So what you see in the different circles are actually the packages that are available for you to purchase or use, depending on the business problem that you're dealing with in the information management space. So, so what we have is so there are 4 packages. The first one is InfoSphere Information Server for data, so for data integration. Second is InfoSphere Information Server for data quality. Third is InfoSphere Business Information Exchange, and the superset of all these packages is the Information Server Enterprise Edition, right? Which means that it contains all the functionalities of all these individual packages, right? So just to give you a quick update on what Information Server for data integration does, it's the typical, it is positioned towards data integration, job design, performing parallel, massively parallel jobs across various data sources that you typically run, right? So that's where it's positioned for. I'll give you greater detail later. The second one is Information Server for data quality. As the name goes, it is basically targeted towards data quality initiatives, standardization, enrichment, survivorship, and discovering anomalies in the data. So it is positioned towards data quality initiatives that you're or such projects. And then there is InfoSphere Business Information Exchange. So this is basically the entry point for your data governance program, wherein you are defining your glossaries or your taxonomies of for your various sources, for elements, and also the various relationships that exist between your data elements, and in terms of what rules that are being applied on these various data elements. So this is where, as a governance platform, you basically get to know where exactly your data is and what shape it is, and what is the usage, and what is the lineage that it possesses. So all those kind of governance initiatives, this is the product that actually positions that. And on top of that, and encompassing all these functionalities, is InfoSphere Information Server Enterprise Edition, which contains all this information, right? Moving on to the next one. So this is Okay, so this is first I'll tackle information server for data integration package. So its theme, why it was invented, was to cater to agile integration capabilities, right? So what is being introduced with information server for data integration is a new tool which is called as InfoSphere Data Click. Uh, in a nutshell, what Data Click does is provide novice business users with self-service capabilities of actually discovering data on their own and using them in their target, right? They did not depend on experienced IT professionals who will have to code, take their requirements and code and then provide them with the data. So this is targeted towards people who are not data experts, who are not DBAs, who are not ETL experts, who do not write code for a living, but who have a need for the data. And InfoSphere Data Click actually lets you, in simple clicks, that's why it's called click, simple clicks to actually locate the data and use it without the need for a business user to code or wait for an IT resource to get free, right? Moving on to the next screen. So this is how the InfoSphere Data Click looks like. It's a very simple tool. I mean, you select the target, you select the source, you configure the options that you require in terms of your data movement, and in the summary it will show you that this is the thing, this is the job it's going to do, and as a user you basically say run and data will be moved. So this is what it is. Once again, it is positioned towards novice business users who actually don't want to wait for data and they're going to do it on your own. And so it's a self-service tool that actually takes quite a burden of IT personnel, servicing such kind of requests when they have to actually, look after production or, go for the phase to design of their master ETL jobs, right? So moving on to the next one. So this is again the data click screen, just showing you the source, schema, and all those things, which it actually pulls up from the metadata that is already available with DataStage and is shown to the business user in a very friendly way, which he can actually, or he or she can understand and use it in terms of selecting which columns, data for which columns is required, and just moving them at the press of a click. Right. Now moving on to the next screen. So there are other. So this is again sticking to the same information server for data integration package. This theme is basically enhancing the control of your operational environment, right? So already we have seen that 8.7 has your logs available within the designer. Now this takes it a step further by making it available on a web. And so you can actually, through the web, access your operations log and go through, monitor any situation or get reported on in terms of how your environment is performing. Again, the web-based job runtime, which means that the operation environment. So the operation console, which was introduced in 8.7, and now has administration functions that can be carried, that can be managed through it. So, so that's why the administration functions have now been exposed to the web through the operations control. And there are a lot of operational and prepackaged operational runtime reports, which if you have Cognos license, you can actually use Cognos to view, report viewer to view those prepackaged information. And there are configurable dimensions and drill down options that you can always use to customize your report. Right. Moving on to the next one. This is the theme of data integration package, information about data integration package. So this is where what we provide us the workload management from. So out here, what you can do is actually you can define queues. You can, as an administrator, you can define the hardware, the utilization, the resource utilization that this job will require. So there are things that you can do in terms of creating a policy of managing the workload that is in your data server environment is in right now. So this is these policies have now been exposed so that you can configure them. You can make new policies to actually throttle your data job environment to control which jobs are running, which jobs can be queued right now, which jobs can be given more priority to run. And so all those things you can now do using this new feature on workload management. Right. So the various policies that are available, as I was talking about, system level job policies, the resource policies, the queue-based policies, and user control information. Right. Same system level policies, which basically you can control the number of jobs and the jobs that can be submitted to the queue, the maximum number that the queue can accept, and so basically this is where you actually define the parameters through which you can control the execution of the job, right? And guarantee that if the resources are not available, the jobs will not necessarily fail, but will wait for the resources to get available and then get executed, right? And then resource policies where you actually define the thresholds on the CPU and the memory usage and all those things, so you can actually kind of throttle this requirement based on the system level resource policies. Then then you can again utilize the same parameters for the queue that you define wherein the jobs will be parked if the resources are not available, and also you can park the jobs in the queue for sequencing from a sequencing standpoint. So these things, these policies actually help you, and also user control information, which means that there is a role-based access, so a privileged user can, actually, modify the queue, job queue, whereas a non-privileged user can actually see where the queue status is as to how many jobs are there and when the resources may get freed and the current resource utilization, right? So moving on. So this is basically the policies you can define from basically the operations console. And now one of the largest thing that we've done is in terms of the big data support. We have actually made sure that we support lots of in terms of the distributions of Hadoop. So we actually also have gone ahead and included support for complex event processing, which is InfoSphere streams, which is also utilized for real-time analytics on the fly. So streams is an extremely fast CEP environment in which you can actually do real-time analytics while the data is on the move. You don't need to park data; it can do it in memory, right? So that's why it's extremely fast, and it's part of the IBM Big Data platform. So what we have introduced is obviously we have the connectivity established in 8.7 release now. With that, what we're also trying to do is supporting ELT with Hadoop, wherein you can actually choose to send down some some processing to the MapReduce functions running within Hadoop environment for optimal result set that you want from your jobs. We've already spoken about streams integration. So basically, this is geared towards use case scenarios where you actually require your retail job to feed real-time into real-time analytics solution, which takes active feeds from the retail job and does in-memory analytics, right? So that's where the InfoSphere streams integration comes handy and will really help you with such use cases. Moving on to continuing with the big data support. So other thing that we support is obviously the sequencing of big data jobs. What it means is basically UZ based. The UZ is actually the UZ that we support is basically cloud data certified, and it's kind of it kind of orchestrates and sequences a mixed workload environment, which means that traditional parallel jobs can be orchestrated along with Hadoop MR jobs, and Uzi can take care of doing the sequencing and orchestration, right? And the other thing that we have started supporting in terms of the first step towards governance and big data is actually providing you with the functionality to actually do impact analysis, so that if you change something, where all the change is going to affect. And secondly, the data lineage part, so you can trace it back to where exactly used and how used, right, from a big data standpoint. Moving on to the next one. So this is the ELT support for DVD running on mainframes. So there's nothing much I can talk about this, but The essence is we start supporting ELT for DB2 running over ZOS, which is our mainframe. Okay. Now moving to the other big area, which is the InfoSphere Information Server Enterprise Hypervisor Edition. This is basically the cloud edition. It will run on the private cloud and by the IBM peer application system, which basically is a provisioning system for our cloud infrastructure. So I mean, in the interest of time, since you're running out of time, it's basically information server. So the advantages have been listed there in terms of how you can use the hypervisor edition of information server enterprise edition to actually, look at, very snapshot projects or, very time dependent data quality missions, or, activate fixed time projects. So these kind of projects, private cloud environment comes very handy and in a very secure, highly scalable, horizontal as well as vertical infrastructure-based environment that IBM Cloud supports. And, this can be a viable option for companies to actually evaluate whenever they have projects of typical characteristics, right? Now moving to okay, the other big enhancements that we have done is the integration of business rules management. So for people who may not be familiar with this concept, this is the BRMS solution. BRMS, IBM had acquired iLog. iLog basically what it does is it's geared towards business users, and it allows business users to actually write rules in a language which is very close to English. And iLog on its own actually translates that language into the bytecodes and the code logic that is required to run over the incoming data and give you the logic, right? So what iLog does is it abstracts the business users from very complex nested code logic or transformation logic. It frees them up from that, and it allows them to actually write rules or in a language that is very close to English, and hence very natural, comes very naturally to them. Right. So what we have done is with 9.1, you will have we have a stage within the data stage parallel canvas, through which you can actually access rules defined in iLog and use them in line with the data, with your ETL job, so that you can do further enhancements, rule-based enhancements on the incoming data set, and before you write it to your target, right? Moving on to data quality, there are many data quality enhancements that have been done. Notable are the new data validation capabilities in quality stage. So this is basically the second package that I'm talking about. This is an information server for data quality, and this contains various enhancements to products that it contains, and this is where the enhancements have been done. So new data validation rules have been, enhancements have been made, and so you can see that when you actually define a rule, you can actually define a data output table in which the rules output would be stored. So there are multiple things you can do with that. So those enhancements have been done. Then sequencing of the data validation rules is possible now. And obviously impact analysis for data validation rules is also possible. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just have a look at it, and it's Yep. So just moving on to, so this is where basically the data validation UI enhancements have been done, wherein you can actually choose from for output table. Initially it used to be only one choice, not as integrated into 3 choices, so you can choose and you can figure out what to do with the output table. Moving on to the next one, I'm just skipping now. Okay, the other thing that we have done is we have introduced from a data quality standpoint something called as a data quality console, which is basically integrated view into all your data quality assets that you have done, be it in data validation rules, or be it sustenance rules, or be it the standardization stuff that you have done, enrichment stuff that you have done using data quality stuff. This is the data quality console that actually gives a view into everything data quality that you have done till now, and I'm waiting for the screen to load, and this is what basically the screen looks like. So you can actually see it's pretty self-explanatory in terms of the various palettes it has and what it shows in terms of the data quality. Right. So, okay, just moving on. The standardization rules designer of quality stage has been enhanced to support web-based user interface and drag and drop capabilities, so these are the kind of enhancements that have happened in that UI. These are the UIs of the rules designer, enhanced UI. So if you see the left-hand side, you can drag and drop into the right-hand side to actually create your submission rules, which becomes very intuitive rather than and multiple drop-downs, and you have to choose what to do and which stand function to use, which pat code and all those things to do. Right. So I'm just moving out. So moving to the last package. This is the. I'll wrap after this. If there are questions, please let the moderator know. So this is the third package, the Business Information Exchange. As I was telling you, this is the position towards information governance initiatives, right? And typically, what it allows you to do is, discover and define your taxonomy in a glossary, and basically annotate attributes to your glossary, right? I mean, what is the governing term? And how is the term implemented? So those kind of rules have been actually now made provisions for them. So it becomes really intuitive when someone sees that this rule is a governing rule or it is implemented by this rule. And then there are additional relationships that a term can have. When I say a term, it can be a technical term or a business term with another term. So this relationship have been defined and been provided out of box, and certain enhancements have been made. So relationships, you can see, is a type of, has types, has, is of. So you will know. So as an example, on the information governance rule, customer information must have phone number, may be implemented by a job that loads a database table. So if you see, there are many ways in which you can define a term. A term necessarily is just not a name. It has got a definition. It has got a usage scenario. It has got valid values which you can put in. So there are many things you can do with a term, right? So that it becomes so enriched that once people start using it across the organization, they understand what the term exactly stands for and what are these ways of terms that it can be used in, right? So moving on to the screens of this. So this is the governance capabilities that I was talking about, and how you define terms and how you define relationships between terms. I'm just moving on to the next one. Okay, so this is, so one thing that I want to highlight in terms of general enhancements of information server is single sign-on support on Windows. Okay, so you can basically use, for organizations using Active Directory, so we support single sign-on on Windows, right? So that may be something nice in terms of system infrastructure. Just moving on to the last, okay, the last two slides. So this slide and the slide that will follow after this will actually show you what each package contains in terms of information server product suite components, right? So you can have a look. So the first column is a package, which is there are four packages, but the fourth one is moot because it contains all three of them. First one is information server for data integration. The products that it contains are listed right there on the second column, and the features that we are discussing. So maybe you can focus on the first and second columns. So it will give you an idea of what each package contains in terms of products, right? I'll hold this for a minute and then I'll change over to the next one. I'm changing to the next one. Okay, so Moini, I think I'm done with my presentation. Hello.
Yeah, Ankur.
Yeah, I'm done with the presentation, so
I have
any
assigned
questions?
you some questions. Can you please check?
Okay, this is the window is really small. I mean, how do I stretch
You
it?
you
It's
would
not.
you would need to pop it out and just resize the window. There's this
It's
button
not.
which says undock pane from control panel.
I'm doing it. I got it, I'm doing it. Okay, so there's a question from Mukul Agarwal, who's asking with ETL tool like Informatica datasets, which is better for parallel job debugging. Not to take anyone's side, but both the tools are very so to speak old in the market, very mature, and at least 10 years old. So the debugging features are mostly, if you were to compare it side by side, would look very similar to you, because in a debugger there is only these many things you can do. I mean, what basically matters is how well and intuitively you handle parallel debugging, wherein the same data set is now parallelized across multiple nodes, right? And each node may be processing each part of the stream of the data, and how do you link it and how do you show it to the user, the developer, is where the value of the parallel debugger lies. So we have done a lot of work in that area in order to make it easy for you to understand exactly where the problem is happening. So, I mean, I'll suggest that you have a look at both and form your own opinion. Right? Thank you for asking my question. Uh, second question is from Deepak Singh. He's asking, is this different from the task manager window? I am not getting the context of this question, but I am thinking. Right, so the task management, so I'm hoping that this means that he is asking in comparison to operations console, which is various system level information. So task manager is basically just showing you, so Windows Task Manager is basically showing you what is the running application, what is the usage it is doing, and all those things. So operations console, you can say, has one panel which has the functionality of a task manager, right? It has got so many other panels in it, in which you basically can actually use that information to graphically depict it. Then what you can do is you can actually run comparisons in terms of graphical comparisons and textual comparisons and snapshot analysis of how your ETL environment is performing, be it from a job standpoint or from a resource usage standpoint. And thirdly, what it allows you to do is have a window into your repository, a metadata repository, wherein you can actually see the job design, your project information, your environment variables, and all those things together, without ever the need for you to go and open the data stage client, right? And you can actually get to know about the most information about your project already available right there. And the operations console in future releases would obviously, now with the introduction of administrative functions within the operations console, you can expect operations console to become the fulcrum of most of the things that you do as a privileged user with data stage, right? So that's where, in my opinion, the operations console is heading, and it's much more than a task manager functionality. And I would rather insist that you use it once, and you'll get to know the kind of functionalities that it has, and especially in terms of its comparison functions and its resource utilization and all those functions, right? Now, thank you for asking my question, Deepak. So, Mukul, you have one more question. This I won't be able to answer, Mukul, because you asked for Informatica, so I just compared a bit, but I would not be able to talk about, ab ratio or talent or, MicroStrategy or SAS data flux. I had worked with them, so I would not know, Mukul. But thanks for asking that question. Right. So, Deepak, your question, have I answered your question, Deepak? Because you say operations performance, so that means that both shows operations of data storage environment as well as it takes the after effect of the operations in terms of whatever has been stored when the operation was running is also actioned upon using operations console, right? So in that way, it is really intuitive and much more than a task manager. So, Mohini, any more questions, or we can wrap?
No, that is all. Well, Deepak said yes, that he totally understood the question, the answer to the question. I'm really thankful to you, Mr. Das, for conducting this session. It was a great session. I would also like to thank all the participants for making this webinar a success. The recording of the session will be available on techic.com by tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Bye. Thanks. Thank you all.